somewhere in the next few hours, your brain is going to lie to you. It will build a room you have never been in. It will fill that room with someone who wants to hurt you. And then it will do the one thing that makes the whole trick work. It will convince you that it's real. Your heart rate climbs. Your breathing goes shallow. Your body floods with the exact stress chemistry it would use if a stranger were actually standing over your bed and there is no one there. There is no room. You are lying still in the dark, completely safe, having the most frightening experience of your week. So what is actually happening in there? Because a nightmare isn't a glitch. It's a system doing precisely what it was built to do. And once you see the machinery, it's hard to be scared of it in the same way again. Sleep isn't one flat state. You cycle through it roughly every 90 minutes, and each cycle ends in a stage called REM, rapid eye movement. In the first cycle of the night, REM might last 10 minutes. By the last cycle before morning, it can stretch past 40. That's why your worst dreams tend to arrive in the early hours, rather than the moment you fall asleep. The stage that manufactures them keeps getting longer as the night goes on. And REM is genuinely strange. If you looked at the electrical activity of a brain in REM without being told the person was asleep, you would guess they were wide awake. Fast. Busy. Alert. The lights are on. It's just that nobody is driving. Here's the first thing that changes. Two chemicals your waking brain runs on almost constantly, noradrenaline and serotonin, drop away in REM to nearly nothing. Noradrenaline is your focus and alarm chemical. It's the one that flags an experience as urgent and worth examining. In REM, it's essentially switched off. Meanwhile, acetylcholine, which drives vivid internal imagery, surges. So you end up with a brain generating extraordinarily rich pictures using almost none of the chemistry it normally uses to check them. That combination is why a dream can contain a relative who died years ago, your primary school, and a hallway that goes on forever, and you accept all three without a flicker of suspicion. Now the balance of power shifts. Deep in each temporal lobe sits the amygdala, a small structure whose entire job is threat detection. It's the thing that makes you flinch at a shape in the dark before you've worked out what it is. In REM, the amygdala does not quiet down. Brain imaging shows it running hot, sometimes more active than when you're awake. And in people who have frequent nightmares, that overactivity is more pronounced still. So the emotion arrives first. Not the story, the fear. Your brain feels dread, and then it does what brains always do with a feeling. It writes a scene that explains it. The figure in the hallway isn't the cause of your terror. It's the excuse your brain invented for it afterwards. And the one part of you that would normally object has gone quiet. Your prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain, behind your forehead, handles logic, self-awareness, and talking the amygdala down when it overreacts. It's the voice that says, that's a coat on a chair, not a person. During REM, large parts of it drop into reduced activity. The fact-checker's chair is empty. This is why nightmare logic feels completely airtight from the inside. You never think, my house doesn't have this room. You never notice that you can't read the clock. There's nobody on shift to notice. Full emotional processing power, almost no critical thinking. That is the exact recipe for total belief. So, where does the material come from? Your hippocampus. The brain's memory index stays active in REM, feeding fragments upward. But it isn't replaying your day like a tape. It's pulling pieces. A face from a meeting. A corridor from a hotel you stayed in 11 years ago. A feeling from an argument last Tuesday. REM appears to be a stage where the brain reprocesses emotional memory, filing away what an experience taught you while stripping some of the sting off it. Nightmares may be that same process running hot. The things you haven't finished dealing with get pulled out of the drawer and staged badly by a brain with no fact checker and a screaming alarm, which is why nightmares feel so personal. They are assembled entirely from your own material. Then there's the detail everybody remembers. You try to run and your legs won't work. You try to scream and nothing comes out. That part isn't a metaphor. It's real and it's happening to your actual body. During REM, your brainstem deliberately paralyzes your voluntary muscles. It's called REM atonia, and it's a safety feature. Your motor cortex is genuinely firing commands to run, and something has to stop those commands reaching your limbs, otherwise you'd sprint into a wall. So the signal goes out. Nothing moves. And your dreaming brain, still without anyone to check the story, interprets that failure the only way it can, as helplessness. The heaviness in nightmares is the one part that's literally true. Your muscles are locked, but your autonomic nervous system isn't. Heart rate, breathing, sweating, pupils, none of that is paralyzed. So the fear goes straight through to the body. You wake at 3 in the morning with your chest pounding over a threat that never existed. And here's the cruel bit. The physical alarm outlasts the story. The dream evaporates in seconds. The adrenaline takes 20 minutes. That gap is why nightmares are so hard to shake off. You're left holding the physiology of an emergency with nothing left to attach it to. It's also the line between a nightmare and a night terror. With a nightmare, you usually wake up properly oriented and remembering it. With a night terror, you don't. Most nightmares are one-offs and mean nothing at all, but some come back. The same chase, the same building, the same fall. Recurring nightmares cluster around unresolved stress, and they're strongly linked to trauma. They're one of the defining symptoms of PTSD. The working theory is that the emotional reprocessing job never finished, so the brain keeps reopening the file. And frequent nightmares aren't harmless. They fragment your sleep, and they build dread about going to bed. That dread makes people delay sleep, which produces more REM later in the night, which produces more nightmares. Around 4% of adults get one or more every week. If that's you, it isn't a personality trait. It's a treatable condition. Which brings us to the strangest finding in this entire field. There's a treatment called imagery rehearsal therapy, and it works like this. While you're awake, you recall the nightmare. You change the ending to something neutral or safe or frankly ridiculous, whatever you like. And then you rehearse that new version deliberately for 5 to 10 minutes a day. That's it. No drugs. You can learn it in a single session. It's currently the strongest evidence treatment for nightmare disorder, and people often notice a shift within 2 or 3 weeks. Because the same machinery that builds the nightmare, emotion first, memory as raw material, nobody fact-checking, will just as happily use the new footage instead. Your brain isn't attacking you at night. It's rehearsing. You're simply allowed to change the script. If you want more questions about why humans are the way we are, subscribe. And if nightmares are genuinely wrecking your sleep, take it to a doctor. It's one of the more fixable things they see.